Bonjour à tous.
Hello, everyone.
Je souhaite donc la bienvenue
I would like to welcome all the young people from the 13 regions who are in the room and those who have not been able to access the room.
tous les jeunes venus d'Afrique.
To all the young people from Africa, to accompany the youth, welcome to the land of integral men.
J'irai rendre un hommage
I would
vivant
like to pay a vibrant tribute to our strong security and defense forces
qui se battent jour et nuit pour que
who
le
fight day
Burkina
and night
Faso
for Burkina Faso
tienne debout.
to be and remain beautiful.
Je souhaite que nous prenions une minute pour prier.
I would like us to take a minute to pray for those who are on the ground and also for the rest of the souls of those who have fallen for our country.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you.
Rendons grâce à Dieu qui a permis
Thank
que nous nous
you.
retrouvions
Let us give
ici
thanks to God for
aujourd'hui
allowing us
en
to be here
célébration
today
de la
to
Journée
celebrate the
internationale
International
de la
Youth
jeunesse
Day in good
en bonne
health.
santé. Je le dis très souvent parce que
I say this very often because human beings often forget God when they have no problem,
lorsqu'il est dans le bonheur.
when they are in
Quand il y a les
happiness.
soucis, c'est là qu'on se rappelle de Dieu.
But when worries come,
Rendez grâce tous les jours pour le
this is
souffle
when
de
we
vie et
remember
pour la
God.
santé.
give thanks every day for the breath of life and for health. Youth, youth from Burkina Faso,
La jeunesse,
youth
cette
from
phase de la
Africa,
vie,
youth, this phase of life where we have enough strength,
cette énergie,
enough energy, like the paraphrase, the slammer that has just passed.
la jeunesse,
Youth is the time when we have spent enough time.
nous devons profiter du temps qui nous est donné
We must take advantage of the time we have been given,
pour atteindre nos objectifs, pour changer
use
le monde,
the energy necessary to reach our goals,
changer le monde des autres positivement.
to change the world, to change our world, to change the world of others positively.
Les enfants souhaitent grandir pour être jeunes.
Children,
Personnes âgées
children want to grow up to be young.
devenir jeunes. Tout le monde veut être jeune.
Older people want to grow up to be
La
young.
jeunesse,
Everyone wants to be young. Youth is a blessing,
alors profitez de la jeunesse pour faire œuvre utile.
so take advantage of youth to do useful
Voilà
work.
pourquoi quand je vois dans le thème choisi,
This is why when I see in the chosen theme, the first two words that come to mind,
intégration,
integration,
sécurité.
security.
L'Afrique fait face à de nombreux défis
Africa faces many challenges,
et on doit se poser des questions.
and we must ask
La jeunesse
ourselves
est-elle
questions.
un atout ou un handicap pour le développement des nations?
Is youth an asset or a handicap for the development of nations?
Et vous la savez. Les pays
The
développés
answer is simple and unequivocal, and you know
pour
it.
la plupart
Developed countries mostly have an aging population, and currently many countries have launched programs to rejuvenate their
leur
populations.
population. L'Afrique a cette chance d'avoir
Africa has this chance to have a very young population,
Mais pourquoi l'Afrique n'est-elle pas développée?
but why is Africa not developed?
Nous devrions donc nous pencher sur la question de comprendre pourquoi l'Afrique
We must therefore look at the question of why Africa has a young population and why it is not developed, and why developed countries seek to rejuvenate their populations.
Il faut que nous arrivions donc à transformer notre jeunesse en un véritable atout et un moteur.
We must transform our youth into a real asset and engine of development for our continent.
Pour ce faire, nous avons
To do this, we
besoin
need integration.
d'intégration. Nous avons besoin de sécurité.
We need security and development. We need to unite.
Certes, vous entendrez parler de l'Union.
You will hear about the African Union.
Oui, elle existe. Mais quelle
Yes, it
est
exists,
l'Union africaine?
but what is the effect of the African Union?
Nous ne pourrons pas parler d'intégration dans le thème.
We cannot
de ne
talk
pas parler
about
de l'Union
integration
africaine.
and not talk about the African
C'est
Union,
cette organisation qui devrait nous unir.
because it is this organization that should unite us,
Mais nous sommes au
create
regret
real
de
integration.
voir Ces guerres qui persistent sur le continent africain.
But we regret to see this war that persists on the African continent, that kills millions of young people, and that this organization, which has the head of state provided with an army, cannot organize itself to support certain countries. The union is not just a word, the union is a symbol. And we young people should learn from this situation to unite us to make integration a reality. I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which is the seat of the African Union, experienced a conflict, and when the Prime Minister announced to close the university in Addis Ababa to face the threat, I did not see the action of the African Union to protect this seat. Western states, for the most part, saw Addis Ababa fall, fold their backpacks, and leave. Ethiopia fought, found an internal solution, and lives more or less in peace today. The children of Congo have been dying for years. Several other conflicts, such as in Sudan, exist on the continent. We would have liked to see the African Union generate the strength and all the strategies necessary to support its states so that they can find peace. We will not even talk about us here in the Sahel. For nearly 10 years, the Sahel has been the scene of international terrorism. But we see no support from these organizations to find a solution to this problem. Worse, a few days ago, a foreign country in Africa openly announced that it had supported and participated in a cowardly, terrorist, and barbaric attack against the forces of our confederation. The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference. The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference of a foreign state in Africa in the internal affairs of our states. I would like them to hear this shout and get out of their silence and take action so that the youth can believe in the African Union. We must unite. The only way to unite is to talk to each other, to understand each other, and to be able to establish the basis of this unity. Young people, let me tell you that to unite, there are three words, three big screws that we must ban from our behavior and our lives. I am talking about cowardice, treachery, and incompetence. We must ban these three words from our way of life. I am going to explain why. Cowardice covers many screws. A coward is always afraid. And when we are afraid, we become slaves. We bend. We lick our boots. Our ancestors were not cowardly. And if we are cowardly, our children will ask us questions. Imagine that in Burkina Faso we refuse to fight and we accept to submit, to live in slavery. Tomorrow our children will grow up and they will ask themselves questions. Have our parents been cowardly to leave us in slavery? Whether we are alive or dead, we will feel it. Cowardice is afraid, and the imperialists have understood that they are trying to scare the leaders so that they become cowards. Because when you are a coward, all the other screws can be born. We do everything so that we are afraid. They come to our palaces. They threaten us directly or with veiled threats. Of course, we respond as it is necessary. They try to make us understand. They take examples every time. They tell us, you know, Thomas Sankara tried to do this, but he is dead. President Haitian tried to do this, but he is dead. Gaddafi tried to do this, but he is dead. These are words that we take in a veiled way to scare us. And we often see some young people trying to take our path in a different way. We can hear them say, such and such person ruled like this, he is in his country. Such and such person ruled like this, he is in prison. All this to try to scare us so that we become cowards. But I think they didn't understand one thing. When we say country or death, we win. It's not just a sentence. It's not just a sentence. It all makes sense. We are not afraid and we will never be afraid.
Ils ont fait peur sûrement à beaucoup de chefs d'État africains.
They probably scared a lot of African heads of state. They probably scared a lot of African heads of state. You see, often when we express ourselves or when we have the opportunity to be in certain situations abroad, we often say something to call on African heads of state to wake up and take care of our youth so that we can start our real development. We are often misunderstood. Some have publicly opposed us. Some have publicly opposed us because they feel indexed. But I can assure you, youth, that when we find ourselves in the corridors, these same heads of state tell us that we are on the right track and that this is what needs to be done so that Africa can rise again. So we ask them questions like, why don't you do like us? Why don't you support us? Some tell us that they have the means, and some tell us that they can't. Dear elders, African heads of state, at the end of this podium, I would like to say that African peoples are the most peaceful. That African peoples are the most peaceful. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. We are not afraid to come out and tell the people we are sorry. We have been compromised. We have been mistreated, we have been compromised by several things, and we ask for forgiveness, and we come back on the right path, and to start working really for the independence of our states and our emancipation. And I think it is possible. If we remain in this posture of fear, we will be cowardly and history will judge us. Our children will ask questions, our grandchildren will ask questions. We are writing history. There is no place for cowardice. If our ancestors had been cowardly, we would not be here. Do you remember? I will give you an example of the people of Bamileke and Bassa. I want to talk about the Cameroonians, the union of the population of Cameroon, which since the 1950s has started a relentless fight against the Poles, but they have been massacred. The French colonial armies, in turn, have dispatched infantry battalions, tanks, helicopters, have annihilated anti-village. The most inhuman tortures have taken place during this period. You can do research on what they call the cart or the Bakasima. Hundreds of thousands of people have been decimated in Africa because they dared to ask their settlers to leave their land. A civil war that lasted several years. That is to say that people dared to face the imperialists with their bare hands so that we could be here. There is no reason why we cannot face the imperialists so that our future generations can live. There are many examples throughout Africa of brave men who refused to be cowardly, who fought, who faced. Well, let us be worthy of these people. We are their descendants, and let us be worthy of them. A coward cannot be worthy. Let us not be cowards, young Africans, because a coward is always a traitor. And it goes hand in hand. They will try to frighten us so that we become cowards. And if we are cowards, we will betray. We must ban the treachery of our habits. Africans have been traitors so that the slave trade succeeds in Africa. It is because Africans have been traitors that colonization has been able to sustain in Africa. Let us question history. We will see. Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba, was betrayed because he dared to hold his head. And these same beautiful televisions came to the Congo for a few bids extended to individuals in the Congo for an interview to please their population. And you were able to follow that. Lumumba bothered us. He is dead. We are happy. It is treachery. Many other heroes have fallen so that we are here today. And it is a technique of imperialism to frighten others by taking action to really create terror. It has not started today. I will give you the example of a warrior who fought, Victor Biakaboda. Read it and you will understand. He came from a family of chiefs. No chiefdom given by the colonizer. He was a worthy child. He studied in Senegal, I believe. He became a doctor in Guinea. And when the RDA was created, he went to the Ivory Coast region to fight against imperialists, against invaders, against the colonizer. He tried to organize the Ivorian society. Everywhere, people began to speak up. There was a general in his time, Pichu, who massacred the Ivorian population so that this spirit of freedom could never germinate. He continued his fight alongside Fewrc Lix Ufé-Boigny. They fought. But the most violent was Victor Biakaboda. He represented a threat to the imperialists. What did he do? In addition to massacring the people who demonstrated, one night they killed him in an atrocious way next to Bois-Flancy. A few hours later, when the people of Dimbakro heard the murder, they marched, they demonstrated. They were massacred by the colonial army. History was killed. The facts are there. After his death, which scared FOC Lix Ufé-Boigny, they called him and told him, if you continue the fight, you will meet the same fate. He was afraid and he joined imperialism. He was appointed minister in France and later he came to take the reins of the Ivorian Accord. They used him to eliminate many other people who dared to raise their voices. I think Thomas Sankara is a good example. If you are afraid, you will be cowardly and you will be a traitor. Never be afraid. The fight must continue. There are many other examples around the world. And there is this phenomenon that they have also used for a long time and that they continue to use. You see, some individuals, for example, have found themselves in other countries and created a so-called parallel government to the Malian government.
Je vais vous prendre l'exemple
You have heard this
d'Ahmed
story.
Chalabi.
It is a technique that has existed for a long time.
Ce professeur de mathématiques qui a
I will
même
give
dans
you
le
the
gouvernement
example of
irakien
Ahmed Chalabi.
a été récupéré
Iraq.
par
This
les
math
impérialistes.
teacher, who was even in the Iraqi government, was recaptured by the imperialists, and he formed this semblance of parallel government in Iraq,
Et
in the
on l'a
United
utilisé
States.
pour être donc le mouton de sacrifice. Parce que c'est à lui
And he
qu'on
was
a
used to
dit
be the sheep of
prononcer
sacrifice,
publiquement que Saddam Hussein développait des armes de destruction massive.
because it was to him that it was said that Saddam Hussein was developing weapons of mass destruction,
Et cet alibi
and
a
he
été
did it.
utilisé pour tuer des millions d'enfants en Irak et détruire l'Irak.
They used him. And this Talibi was used to kill millions of children in Iraq
Un soir,
and destroy Iraq.
après une interview, dans l'interview, il disait même que il sait que la
And do you know what was the fate of Chalabi?
quelques heures après, il a été retrouvé mort dans son lit, mort de
One evening after an interview, he said that he knew that the CIA was on his back.
Si vous trahissez, vous aurez des fins macabres.
A few hours later, he was found dead in his bed, dead of a heart attack. If you betray, you will have macabre endings. That's how it is. Imperialism has no friends. Imperialism uses you.
Et quand il finit de vous utiliser, il fait
And when
de
it
vous
finishes
utiliser.
using you, it does what it wants with you.
Vous comprenez
Follow my gaze.
de quoi
You
je
understand
parle.
what I'm talking about. It has always been like this.
Le troisième vice,
The third vice that I invite you to leave is incompetence.
c'est l'incompétence. Ah, je reviens encore au mot du slameur qui a marché sur
Ah, I'm coming back to the word of the Islamist who walked on my tongue.
Vous comprendrez
Incompetence.
de quoi il s'agit. L'incompétence est un phénomène très dangereux.
You understand what I'm talking about. Incompetence is a very dangerous phenomenon that they use to destroy African society.
Reconnaissons-le. Les incompétents ont beaucoup
In our
de place
administrations, there is a lot of incompetence. Let's recognize it. Incompetents have a lot of space next to imperialism,
Les incompétents peuvent
because
vous
incompetence
amener
can take over the development of a country. Incompetence can lead you to doubt yourself.
Les incompétents aiment tout pour eux seuls.
Incompetents love ease. Incompetents love everything for themselves. Incompetents don't like those who are competent.
Ceux qui cherchent. Les incompétents
They don't like those who innovate,
sont
those who
dangereux.
seek. Incompetents are
Lorsque
dangerous.
vous êtes éclairé, l'incompétent ne vous aime pas.
When you are enlightened,
Lorsque vous voulez
incompetents
innover,
don't like
l'incompétent
you.
ne vous aime pas.
When you want to innovate, incompetents don't like you.
L'incompétent sait reconnaître celui qui est compétent et il va le combattre
Incompetents only recognize those who are
parce
competent,
qu'il a peur de
and they
celui
will
qui est
fight him
compétent.
until his last breath,
Cherchez
because
la
he is afraid of
connaissance.
those who are competent.
Cherchez la
Seek
connaissance
knowledge.
et travaillez.
Seek knowledge
Travaillez
and
dur
work.
pour être
Work
compétent.
hard to be competent.
Bannissez
Ban
l'incompétence.
incompetence.
Parce que, à travers les distractions
Because through distractions that we want to make us adopt,
adoptées, on devient incompétent.
we become incompetent.
Les réseaux sociaux sont les
I'll give you an example. Social networks are the places where information is published today.
s'informent à travers Internet et beaucoup de choses. Un jeune qui
People are informed through the
sur
internet.
les réseaux sociaux un article sur sa ferme,
A young man who publishes an article on his farm or an agricultural project or a scientific project may not have 1,000 views.
il n'aura pas peut-être 1000 vues.
But a young man who publishes on futility has millions of views.
Ce que moi j'appelle du n'importe quoi.
As the young slammer said, we want to waste your time on futility.
Justement, comme disait
Be
le
aware.
slameur,
Let's
on peut
focus
faire
on
perdre
work
du temps
and
dans
seek
la
knowledge.
futilité.
Let's seek
Prenez
competence.
conscience. Intéressons-nous au travail.
It's good to be
Cherchons la
distracted,
connaissance.
but we must work first before being distracted. Seek knowledge, otherwise you'll waste your
Mais on
time
va
doing
travailler
nothing.
d'abord, avant de se distraire. Cherchez la connaissance, sinon vous perdrez du temps à ne rien faire. Et la jeunesse,
Youth is the time when you must use your time wisely.
il faut exploiter son temps à bon escient. Les impérialistes le savent.
The imperialists know this.
Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est événement de distraction. Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est
That's why they multiply all events of distraction.
travail pour que vous soyez des incompétents.
They multiply all events that can distract you from work so that you become incompetent. When you fall asleep, you choose the incompetent to lead the important structures. You have no choice but to fold. Let's not be incompetent. Let's seek knowledge.
Les incompétents se cachent souvent derrière des mots.
Incompetents often hide behind words. They use the terms democracy and freedom without realizing what they mean.
Camarades, la démocratie est un état
Democracy is a state of mind as much as youth is a state of mind.
Ces soi-disant démocrates,
Whether you're a Democrat or not,
comment est-ce qu'on peut
how can you impose democracy by killing millions of people?
C'est de la dictature, ça, ce n'est pas de la démocratie. Ça ne
It's a
s'impose pas.
dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it.
Ceux-là qui se disent démocrates, mais regardez, nous avons
Those who
vu
call
des scènes
themselves
où on a
Democrats
empêché
have
des
seen
gens de
scenes
rentrer
where
dans des
people were
assemblées.
prevented from joining
On a vu des
assemblies.
scènes où des forces ont débarqué dans des assemblées pour obliger
We've seen
les
scenes where
députés à prendre
forces
des
landed in
textes.
assemblies to force deputies to take texts.
Plus terrible que ça.
We've seen more terrible scenes where people kill their demonstrators. But they call themselves Democrats, and we're called Perseus.
Si c'est ça la démocratie, je répète.
If that's democracy, I repeat, we don't want this democracy.
Et quand vous voyez souvent les incompétents,
And when you see
ils ne
incompetence,
cherchent pas à savoir quelle est la signification du
they
mot
don't seek to
démocratie
know
en
what the
réalité.
real meaning of the word
Ils s'accrochent
democracy
juste
is.
à la définition qui lui a donné l'impérialisme et il se met
They cling to the definition given to them by imperialism and start talking about democracy without really knowing the basics. That's incompetence. You have to know, look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa.
Les incompétents se cachent derrière les libertés.
Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember, there is no individual freedom. It's a fact.
C'est un fait.
Do you really think everyone is free? Freedom is collective. As long as we live in a society with rules, freedom is collective.
Avec des règles, la liberté est collective. Parce que si vous ne respectez pas les règles,
Because if you don't respect the rules, you can't live in society.
si vous êtes libre de parler comme
If you're
vous
free
voulez,
to speak as you please, the other is free to answer as he
de vous
pleases.
répondre comme il veut,
That would be disorder.
ça sera du désordre. Si vous êtes libre de
If you're
rouler dans la
free to
rue et
walk
de
the
passer
streets
le
and
feu
pass
rouge comme
traffic
vous voulez,
lights as you
l'autre est
please,
libre de passer aussi et de vous cogner.
the other is free to pass by and
Vous
hit you.
comprenez que si
You understand
la
that if
liberté
individual
individuelle prend
freedom
le
takes
dessus,
over,
nous sommes
we are in
dans
a
une société
society of
de
disorder.
Voilà pourquoi il y a des règles dans la société.
That's
Les
why
règles,
there are
tout le monde
rules
doit
in
les
society,
respecter. Et là, on parle de liberté collective.
and everyone has to respect the
Donc,
rules.
certains se donnent le droit de parler de leur liberté individuelle.
That's why we're talking about collective freedom. Some people have the right to speak about their individual freedom, but they don't care about others. I think that's also part of incompetence,
Ils s'arrogent les droits que peut-être les États les ont donnés.
because they don't try to understand. They make up the rights given by the states to serve and do everything for themselves, neglecting the freedom of others.
On pense à la liberté d'autrui.
No, freedom is collective. Before we act, we think about the freedom of others, and we shouldn't transcend the freedom of others. So we need to have a reserve. And once we have a reserve, individual freedom doesn't exist. Freedom is collective, and we need to have this culture of collective freedom.
Cherchons donc la connaissance, lisons.
So let's seek knowledge, let's read, let's interrogate history. Don't read the history they wrote in their favor.
Cherchez la connaissance à travers plusieurs sources et vous comprendrez.
Seek knowledge through several sources, and you will understand in history who fought for Africa, how we must fight to continue this struggle of our ancestors.
Et je ne terminerai pas mes propos sans faire.
And I won't finish my words without making a statement about communication.
Parce que comme je le dis, c'est l'arme fatale de l'impérialisme. Et vous jeunes,
Because, as I said, it's the fatal weapon of
pour
imperialism.
savoir distinguer le vrai du faux.
And you young people, you must do everything to distinguish the true from the false. We will continue to dismantle the lies of imperialist media that always try to create problems in Africa. Because these media, through their mouths, can make you a king tomorrow. Through their mouths, they can make you leave your position as king and make you a poor slave tomorrow. Pay attention.
Je suivais une émission, malheureusement, il n'y a pas longtemps, burkinabé.
I was following a program, unfortunately not long ago, in Burkina Faso, where a young journalist released a sentence that left me a little perplexed. He was talking about North Korea, and the journalist said, "But he is starving in North Korea." Has he taken care of going to North Korea to investigate to see if he is really starving? Since imperialist media have sold North Korea is more developed than many European countries. And because these media tell us that North Korea is a dictatorship, people are starving, they are poor, they have nothing, we take it here. But North Korea is a nuclear power. How did they do it? Let's pay attention to communication. We must not blindly follow these lying media that only try to divide Africa. It is logical. They fight for the interests of their people. And the interest of their people is that Africa is divided. So, young people of Burkina Faso, young people of Africa, we must unite. We must ban cowardice. We must ban incompetence. We must ban treachery and all the risks in our society. We have the opportunity to speak. We thank God for these opportunities that we have each time to speak, to raise awareness. And I invite you to spread the word, to get to work so that the Africa that we want, self-sufficient in terms of food, is a reality. So that the Africa that we want for harmonious development is a reality. Let me finish because I return to your theme. There is no peace and security without development. The two go hand in hand. If there is no development, there is no security. Because if there is no development, the youth will inevitably find themselves in the vice and there will be no security. If there is no security, there is no development. So the two must go hand in hand. Let's integrate this in our fights so that we can fight and develop. Let's go towards production. Let's produce enough. Let's transform our raw materials so that they are beneficial for our populations and in terms of exportation. I wish you a very good day of reflection on the chosen theme and also on the essential role of youth in this fight. Good luck to all. May God make sure that all those who have made the trip return home in good health and that we can meet again when we wish it by the grace of God. La Pat.
Welcome to my YouTube channel once more. This is Timotesi Collection. Hope you are doing well. Make sure if you are watching this video for the first time, make sure you support me through your subscription, subscribe, like, comment and share our video. Hope you have watched that clip fully. Captain Ibrahim Traore is that 5 years old of Burkina Faso has emerged as a prominent voice advocating for African sovereignty, unity and self-reliance. His message has resonated not only across the African continent but also in the Caribbean, particularly among Jamaicans and the broad African. As you know, we as Jamaican, we have approximately of around 2.8 million as per now. And if you look well, over 2 million Caribbean live outside their diaspora. So Ibrahim Traore is advising us about growing our economy. The key messages from Traores in Africa and especially in the Caribbean, and according to that clips, his emphasis on sovereignty and self-determination. Eh? Traore has consistently called for African nation to assert their independence and resist external interference. He has stated, "We no longer want to interfere in our affairs," highlighting the need of Africa to determine by its own path without external affairs. That is Ibrahim Traore. And another thing, advocating for the Pan-Africanism and diaspora solidarity, recognizing the shared histories of colonialism and the ongoing struggle for self-determination and the ongoing struggle for self-determination, Traore has urged for stronger ties between Africa and the Caribbean, especially Jamaica. He emphasized that both regions unite in their effort to redefine for their future. The Ibrahim Traore also advocating promotion of economic self-reliance, drawing inspiration from former Burkina Thomas Sankara Traore, advocating for economic policies on self-sufficient. He encouraged African nations to develop their own resources and reduce dependence on foreign aid and imports. Do you know what? The African has a lot of resources and minerals, as you see, as the Burkina Faso. Look, the Burkina Faso. The Burkina Faso, once a year ago, they are a small country, but look now, after they 35 years old took on, the Burkina Faso is somewhere in the map. So Ibrahim Traore is encouraging us as Caribbean and Africa to develop our country using our own resource. We don't need to depend from the foreign countries to develop we all have. But the biggest enemy in our culture, especially we Caribbean and African, is corruption. Corruption is number one. Our leaders not performing well. So Ibrahim Traore is only invited at 5 years old across Europe. He's making a lot of push for Pan-Africanism in our continent. So in that clip, if you have watched very well, he also inspiration of youths and revolutionary leadership. As the world youngest head of state, Traore emphasized a new generation of leadership. His rule to power and commitment to transformative government serve as inspiration to young across Africa and the Caribbean to demonstrate that change is possible through determination and unity. If we Caribbean, especially Jamaica and Africa, if we unite together, we will go somewhere. So our young president, captain of Burkina Faso, is waking up. He is telling us to wake up as an African and a Caribbean, so that we depend on ourselves. We don't want to rely on foreign countries. In fact, his advocates that we have our own currency. We don't need to depend on US dollars. Let's create our own currency. That's what the Traore is fighting for Africa. And this also, he's advising our brother Caribbean to follow the same, so that we grow our economy, so that we don't depend from the other country. We do our own things. Thank you for watching my video, and remember to subscribe, share, like, comment. We will be posting for video. Thank you so much for our loyal subscriber. May God bless you. Thank you.